Nice guy, Rome. But yeah, like I totally agree with you. Adagio getting so much work, or Gabe Vizzle getting so much work out of that Adagio. But over for Gankstars Sirius, they're going to be picking up the Scarf and coupling that up with the Fortress. We've seen these heroes play together, and I'm not sure what they're going to plug in for the third. You know, take your pick. But at this point, it's looking very good for them.
I was going to say Ringo, but you keep going on too long. But this was the exact same composition that Hammer's Kinetic did earlier as when they were playing against their sister team. They grabbed that buff composition with that Ringo, and it did so much damage.
All right, well, third pick coming out here. Rome, I won't linger on. What's it going to be?
This one is, I would prefer that they pick up that Catherine, but most likely they'll be trying to keep the Ringo alive. But with them, they have to always move forward with the buff composition, and having Catherine being there to stun makes life so much easier for that buff to come onto Ringo, for Adagio to be poking from far away.
Yeah, definitely. And how do we round out this Gankstars lineup?
What they're going to really need here is somebody that is going to be able to like initiate very deep for them, or to be able to like just peel for them.
Glaive?
Picking up Glaive is an excellent pick on their end.
All right, well, they're highlighted on that Glaive right now. That's what's going to be Rome on point with that Catherine and that Glaive call there. So
it would have been better if you let me go all the way. I would have taken out all three of them.
But dude, I know that you were going to mess up on the previous one, so that's why I was talking. And then I know, you start to seal the deal there at the end. You're always on point with those last couple. So all
right,
I'm doing you a favor at this point, bro.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
All right, guys. Well, actually, Rome, you were very on point with that. We'll see what the Catherine can get done in this game. We haven't seen Catherine played a lot, but yeah, only time will tell, guys. We have loaded into the game, so let's go ahead and jump into the Halcyon Fold and throw it again once to Shinyi and for Borchester.
For the Halcyon Fold.
Well, a very powerful game number one. What do you think going into this one here for Shinyi?
This is terrifying to look at Kinetic's composition. All three of them are on the comfort pick. So when Gabe Vizzle was the support, he was I always thought that he was one of the strongest Adagio supports ever. And he's played some absolutely fantastic games as jungle Adagio so far, and nobody can deny that. And we saw Tigers before as the Ringo. He's an absolute bully. He was harassing, he was pushing them out. His kiting was just on point. This is terrifying to imagine what it'd be like.
Alright, so Rekt and Fuji going to be in that jungle. Fuji's on the Glaive. Now, we didn't really see a Glaive in the last matchup here, but, that kind of potential to come up 2 lane up against T-Tigers, that's what I'm going to be really looking forward to. Seeing how often we can get those lane ganks going. Now, you did say Gabe Vizzle, Adagio, the two are going basically hand in hand, and you said it. I mean, terrifying is a great way to describe what Kinetic have built themselves into here for Game 2.
Yeah, well, we saw Fuji and Rekt teleporting home instead of staying into the fight and losing their fronts, because I think they could anticipate the rotations coming up from T-Tigers there. They knew he was going to go down. They didn't really want to face up that 2v3 because they knew that he was going to lose. And right now it's all about focusing on Arakizora, farming up, making sure they scale well into the late game.
And, well, they're going to have to try to get to that late game because it wasn't a very long game number one for sure. It was pretty soul-crushing, actually, so that's going to be their new challenge. Now, you can see Sweet Generous there in lane. He's just kind of babysitting at this point, even with a Merciless Pursuit. Like, that's not going to be a kill on top of Arakizoro, but it would be a +1 armor. Not that I think Sweet's going to get that choice.
Yeah, I like that engage there. So he saw that Arakizara used the Spitfire, knew the cooldowns was around 8 seconds, and decided to engage at that point because he knew there wasn't much Arakizara could do. But Arakizara also anticipated this, was able to back away before they could get any damage onto him, which was very nice to see.
Well, as I said, even with the Merciless, I just don't think it's going to be a kill. And, well, Sweet, he has been just doing his babysitting thing. He's going to be getting quite a bit of gold from this lane, and now Gabe Vizzle's here as well. Could they even go for this? Like, right now, that Achilles shot is going to be bringing Arakizoro just over that half mark. I just don't think we have the damage to really kind of punish the Dragon, though.
Yeah, we saw the buff coming out from Gabe there onto T-Tigers, but Araki just stayed out of range, so they couldn't actually get any hits onto him, so T-Tigers had to use the buff instead onto the minions. So I think they could have picked up the kill there onto Arakizora, but he was just being too careful and being too cautious and just staying out of range.
Good pickup there from Fuji. He is able to get that farm, and he gets out with the afterburn, but they are going to give up those backs, so is this going to be a lane gank? Is this going to be the afterburn that we're looking for? Well, there is no Ringo, but T-Tigers has to be very careful on a rotate. He should see Fuji, and Rekt, I'm pretty sure he saw him going into the backs. I mean, you can probably expect it by now, and, well, there's the visual confirmation. T-Tigers, you're just going to go for a kill right here?
Surprised, but there's the afterburn that we're looking for.
Well, and it's going right into Rekt as well, so, I mean, T-Tigers doesn't have those boots anymore. No twirling silver. and, well, that's just not going to be any support for him. So he's going to be the first blood as Fuji will just go right back to farming these back.
Yeah, I think he should have stuck to just getting that healing minion in the middle camp there rather than trying to take anything, because in a 1v2 situation against a glaive, you know you're not going to come off very well against that.
Rankizoro is going to get shoved off lane just a little bit here. Gabe Vizzle is going to be taking all the last hits that he can, but with no jungle, I mean, T-Tiger is just going to come back, take the lane, and I don't really know what Gabe and Sweet Generous want to do about this for now.
They're just being very aggressive, applying a lot of pressure there onto Iraqi there constantly. They're always there, and they're like a constant threat to him because he knows he can see them going past, and it's very nice to see the rotations coming out from them. But they are going down, and it looks like they might be catching Fuji and Recta right now. Or not.
Well,
or not.
Depends if they keep going for this. The 3-man rotation will continue on. Fuji is not going to get that last back, but he does have that trigger finger for the afterburn, so he's going to be fine. Rekt, of course, was just never really a target, so he's going to be fine as well. And Arakizoro is going to shove the lane. Could we actually go for like a party bush right now to 4 T-Tigers? Yeah, that seems to be a big thing that we can do right now. And Fuji has no vision, can't actually pick up T-Tigers.
T-Tiger's being a little bit out of position there. You know, he could have probably worked out that they were there. Maybe it'd been better to have him to teleport back,
Rekt.
but Sweet Generous picking up the kill there on Rekt.
And Sweet Generous actually helps get the kill, gets the 1 armor, gets the assist, but it's actually the fire, I think, or perhaps the stray last hit from Gabe Vizzle that picked it up.
Yeah, so I'll say I would still feel like Kinetic are the ones in control of this game right now. Fuji and Rekt are playing very defensively. They're teleporting back every single time instead of going to the middle shop, which is really interesting because I do think they have the upper hand right now in terms of strength, and I feel like they're not taking advantage of that fully. So obviously they're a little bit nervous of the power of Kinetic right now.
Fuji, like, every single afterburn in his own jungle is just used super defensively. These invades, they might not be hitting like the starvation mark for the team of Gankstars Sirius, but it's really starting to put a dent in their farm. I mean, 900 gold has been accrued between the teams, and as I said, it's not the end of the world, but it's starting to add up.
Yeah, and I really like the rotations coming out from T-Tigers. He's going into his teammates every single time that they're going into the enemy jungle, guaranteeing the hits and forcing Fuji and Rekt to back off. He may be losing on a little bit of farm there, and there goes the afterburn.
Yeah, and T-Tiger's just not going to get punted any real useful ways. That's going to be a very dead glaive, unfortunate right there. Rankizoro did actually kind of wander off into the jungle. He's going to be coming back late, but Rekt, unfortunately, just going to be dropping to the floor. And now Raki, it's not going to be the kill. That would be an amazing ace, don't get me wrong. But, man, just the power of T-Tigers and Sui right here is just kind of putting Gankstars in this place.
Really, the minion candy that we saw coming up from Sweet Generous is helping to give the minions an extra kind of pushing power there, and they're going to be able to push down that turret very, very easily. And at 6 minutes, that's a very strong advantage that they've taken on.
6 minutes for a tower. They got themselves 3 kills and about 2,500 gold. They've just shot right up in that advantage zone.
I feel like that, you know, I said before that I feel like Fuji and Rekt aren't being as aggressive, and they're slowly losing control of their middle and front camps every single time by teleporting back each time. But of course, every time that they have kind of come into skirmish in the jungle against Kinetic, they have lost. So obviously there is reason for them to be a little bit nervous of this. But we're not seeing that much vision coming down from Rekt so far. He does have those scout traps and flares there, but I feel like he's not using them well.
I mean, yeah, the vision game is starting to be a slowly lost war here from Rekt. He will pop that scout trap. Good on him. Fuji, remember how I was talking about how these invades are starting to add up? Fuji's sitting at 34 farm. Gabe Vizzle is at 48.
Yeah, so he's been getting quite a nice advantage there so far, and they're just definitely very...
Ooh, so close. He tried, he failed, he's gonna die for his trouble, but good on you, Fuji. You tried to make that happen. Blast Tremor into a stun. Can't quite catch up to Arakizoro, so Sweet Generous is not going to finish the Merciless Pursuit, but that is a dead turret, so they can continue on. And that's going to be the second one. Araki, no reflex. He is going to drop.
Yeah, that was very, very nice engage there coming out from Kinetic. So we saw Fuji kind of afterburn into the gold mine there to try and see if he steal it, but that left him in the middle of all three of Kinetic. So he went down very, very fast, and he didn't have his afterburn available for him to get away, leaving Rekt and Arakizoro in a precarious position. We saw the Blast Tremor coming out, which completely stopped them from doing anything. They don't have reflex blocks yet. They couldn't block it. So that was why they were able to just get up those kills very, very nicely there.
5-1 for score. Kinetic, already leading in this game series, has now put themselves into close to, just over 5,000 gold lead. it seems to be every time we come back to it, it's almost like another 1,000, another 1,500 added to it. And it's starting to look pretty grim. And like that late game, we keep talking about those late games, right? But if you can't get to the 20-minute mark, you're not going to have a late game.
They're playing very methodically right now. We do have Fuji. He's got that glaive. We've not seen him using it to the potential yet. We're not seeing him going to the lane instead of trying to gank T Tigers. So they're just teleporting back, and I feel like that's just a wasted opportunity. And maybe they could have stopped the slow takedown from Kinetic if they had just taken advantage of that earlier on.
So we are kind of relegated to the jungle at this point. 2 turrets down. Not exactly a big safety net for Iraqi Zoro. If he pokes his nose out here and we don't have any mines or flares, he's an easy pickoff. And we don't actually seem to really have any kind of vision. We got 1 mine down at the very bottom corridor, and that seems to be it, at least that I can tell.
That's not going to be set up anytime soon. So Sweet Generous has had some good vision late in earlier, but they all seem to have been set. They all seem to have been set off so far.
And there's going to be a Warhorn. They are looking for Wrecked, and they are chasing so very hard, but Kinetic's not going to find an angle there. Gankstars is going to just smartly come back down here to the choke turret, but 5-1 for score, and perhaps not even relegated to their jungle. If they cannot safely farm there, then their chances of coming back is just going to go straight down.
Iraqi Zoro is beginning to suffer in terms of farm because of the lack of those 2 turrets. You know, they were pretty even before with T Tigers, but now he is about 20 behind. That's gonna slowly add up. He's got that broken myth, but apart from that, he really doesn't have much else. Whereas we see T Tigers there with his fully built Zoro Blade and potential. I think that could be a breaking point actually. Potential breaking point there.
Well, we've seen a breaking point once already on today's Ringo, and Weapon Ringo T Tigers, I mean, he could definitely make it happen again, especially if Fuji just keeps going in and in. But look at this, they're going to be getting a little bit aggressive. Gold Mine is turned on, so they're going to try to make this a 4v3. Sweet Generous, though, with that silence into the back, Iraqi Zoro is just not really seemingly part of the fight yet. Fuji, could he actually get this kill on top of T Tigers? The burning, it will be enough, but Fuji's just not looking good, and Gapeism gets 1 and 2, and the 3rd kill actually is going to go over to Sweet Generous. During all that, the gold miner was just weighing away on them, and it doesn't even matter. Kinetic gets themselves an ace. They trade it 3-1, get themselves another gold mine, and we are now looking at 6,000 gold and counting.
That was such a good engage there coming out from Gankstars, but the problem was they had the Warhorn and the Fountain there coming out from Sweet Generous, just keeping them alive a little bit longer. T Tigers absolutely godlike in his kiting, just managed to deal as much damage onto Fuji, who was just in the middle of things, getting caught out there by Gabe Vizzle and T Tigers, and it just wasn't quite enough time for Iraqi Zoro there to stack up and damage.
Sweet Generous just popping that Warhorn again, just ensuring that they are going to be able to get to safety. Still, I mean, sure, a kill is a kill, but that's not going to be near enough to satisfy Gankstars in this one. They go real deep, and unfortunately, they're just not seeming to landing these kills.
The Kinetic are being very aggressive right now. I think they've just got the upper hand in terms of gold and items, and that was a very nice block there coming out from Iraqi Zoro, but it is now wasted, so that does leave T Tigers open to use his Hellfire Brew onto Iraqi.
Yeah, and there's nothing Iraqi can do about it. We do not have a Crucible on top of Wreck.
There is an opening here for an engage, but Kinetic feel like they don't really want to dive that hard for kills, so just going to be going back to clearing the jungle.
A little bit of fire never hurt anyone, said Gabe Vizzle, as he actually lit all 3 of them on fire. But this is just not the engage I think that we want here from Gankstars. We need to use that afterburn Fuji. It's not going to matter. That last auto attack is going to be enough to bring down the cat, and Iraqi is going to burn to the Hellfire after that blast tremor. Gotta make sure we can stack that armor there from Sweet Generous, and another turret on top of it. We still have no Kraken we can turn around and go grab. The 12-minute mark is bringing Gankstars right down to the last 2 turrets.
And such a commanding lead at 12 minutes, as you said. So we're seeing Gankstars manage to clutch on, well, not clutch onto that turret anymore, but they're clutching onto the last 2 base turrets like there's nothing else. But they are slowly losing every single turret minute by minute. And I think when that Kraken comes out, things are not going to be looking good for them, because we will be seeing Kinetic push with that and hoping to finish the game.
Yeah, this might be literally just farm up as much as you can, double infuse Kraken, win game, go to that game-deciding 3rd, as Kinetic will be a 2-0 at that point. What can Gankstars just do? I mean, like, there's nothing really they can turtle here. I mean, there's no safety nets. They can't safely farm. Every time they go into their jungle, they get jumped. What do you do?
They're just playing such an aggressive game, and I think that because they're played too passively at the start, that's the reason why. Part of the reason why they're so far behind right now. They've lost complete control over their jungle. There was one point where they did come in to try and prevent the gold mine there.
Oh man.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh,
Rakizaro, no chance at that reflex block. T-Tigers, however, is going to be taking a good chunk of damage, but look at that stutter step. Wrecked is just not part of the equation, and Fuji is going to be on the run. I mean, we got time. Kinetic, I think, could actually just bother to do this. Like, they can't push and win. Not yet. That flare doesn't see Fuji. Sui Generis, however, does.
Don't know if there's much Sui Generis can do against Fuji, but he seems to be doing all right against it. Probably not the most exciting 1v1 to watch.
Attack. Afterburn! Not enough.
And dead. So I think Rekt had a flare sitting in his inventory at that time, but he didn't use it when walking past that bush. We saw Kinetic very cleverly waiting until Rakizaro was on his own and caught him out very, very quickly. And we just saw the damage come out from T-Tigers. Rakizaro he could do nothing against him.
It's a pretty sad statement when your glaive can't really do much against the opponent's Catherine. That is the state of this game, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not looking too great for Fuji on that glaive though. So, but you know, like we said before, he is above the Twitch's Marmite, so try to think what they're saying right now. But he's been doing he's been doing all right. But I feel like he is getting they are getting kind of caught out. But I think just the difference is too much right now. Kinetic just had too much of an advantage.
Well, maybe T-Tigers, he's going to be the target for stun, but it just didn't connect. The stun on top of Fuji for the counter. And look at that blast chamber, the stuns, the silences, and just not having an angle. Fuji's going to drop here as well. Or will he? He will take T-Tigers for his trouble. But I don't think Rakizaro is good. Rakizaro actually even get a kill. Sui Generis at that fountain, and that is it. Gabe Vizzle says, down, dragon, down. This, I don't think these can actually be turrets, so let's go get a Kraken.
You know, they've got 6 seconds left on the clock before Rekt comes out, but that was a really, really nice fight. We saw the heal come out from Gabe Vizzle onto Sui Generis because he was taking all the damage from Rakizaro Spitfires. You know, there was a high chance that Rakizaro could have picked up a kill there. So that set Rakizaro on fire, and when Gabe Vizzle buffed himself, that was dealing increased damage onto him, taking him down very, very fast. He just didn't have the opportunity to do anything to Gabe Vizzle or Sui Generis there by that point.
Gabe Vizzle, I wanted to make a 007 joke about Gabe Vizzle, but he's actually 707, which I think is actually better, because like he has been part of 14 out of 16 kills. He has made a lot happen in these games with this Adagio. Like, this has been his patch, his team, and his Adagio, and right now he is just absolutely playing out of his mind. Like, he is just, you cannot give Adagio away in these.
Yeah, and Adagio's been such a strong pick for Gabe Vizzle. So I think we've seen Gabe Vizzle play Glaive yesterday, and that was the one match that they lost. So maybe we could see Gankstars considering taking the Adagio away from him because he's doing so well on it. He is absolutely doing work. He's just landing all those skills very well, using Sui Generis as a frontline there, and there is a potential there for a gank there.
So we have 5 infusions coming down on top of Rekt, and Rekt is just out of there. He does not exist anymore. Fuji's going to try his best, but T-Tigers is saying, I've learned from this trick. You're not taking me with you down to the ground, and that will be a 3-0 with the Kraken, and a game number 2 finish in almost flawless sensations. Kinetic is now 2-0 above Gankstars Sirius.
Yeah, well, they had to jump on them in that last fight, but just wasn't enough. They're just too far behind at this point, and just Kinetic are just on fire tonight. They're just doing so well. They were just so aggressive in the jungle very, very early on. I think that was very important in them for maintaining that lead and just continue to snowball it to that point.
709 for Gabe Vizzle, 2017 for Sui Generis. 7,500 gold is more gold put together. Okay, not quite, but it's pretty close to Fuji plus Rekt. That is how stacked Sui Generis is, and he's the roam.
And if you think about it, he had more gold than Rakizaro, who was the carry on Gangstar Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
That's
certainly something. It is certainly something. Kinetic is playing out of their mind. They're now up 2-0 in this best of 5, and if they sweep for a 3-0, I still maintain they are the velocity of this patch, of this qualifiers. These guys have already guaranteed themselves the top 2, but they are very much poised for a top 1.
Well, it certainly looks that way. So we'll have to see what Gangstar Sirius will be pulling out in the draft next time, because I feel like they potentially had the early game advantage of that glaive and the ganks, but they just didn't pull that off to the full potential. I'm really kind of excited to see what they'll be doing to counter this, because it really all hinges on that last game now.
Well, speaking of Game 3, let's get it rolling. Back to the desk for now as Humanist and Rome will take us through it.
Thank you once again, Forecourt Jester. And guys, we're witnessing Kinetic just absolutely on fire right now. And my question to you, Rome, is this can